Okay, so let's get to the next episode. It's gonna be us going over the ad libs and the actual reverb delay, the actual effects on the vocal, and we're gonna talk about my mindset, how I approach just the overall, broader, kind of like candy and the fireworks of this whole track. So, very first thing we're gonna look at is this is the I told him, yo, do the ad lib exactly like Bryson Tiller, and he came through, bro. Like no cap, like this sounds exactly like Bryson Tiller right here.
Forbid, I bleed. What's bad for me? Forbid.
Ooh, he sounded exactly like Bryson Tiller style type of ad lib. So, of course, another waves retune. It was, usually I get an auto tune and I just stick with it. Maybe I might change the settings around. Usually, like how I do is like my lead vocal will probably have the least amount of auto tune, and the background vocals will have more auto tune, like progressively as we go down the vocals in my like mixes. How I like to approach R&B. Boom, the lead vocal is gonna sound as natural with the auto tune as it can be, but then maybe like the background doubles have a stupid amount of auto tune, but they only come around a little bit here and there, so it's not really noticeable. And then the ad libs might have a stupid amount of auto tune, but because it's in short bursts, your ear can't really pick up the fact that there is auto tune. So I'm getting away with more auto tune when I, like ration it out like that. So very first thing that we have right here is we're using a cassette emulation on Toupe. So just giving it a little bit of variance and the lo-fi and a little bit of variance in the texture. And then after that, we have a REQ, because I'm using pretty much the cassette emulation, lo-fiing the top end as my low pass filter.
Forbid, I bleed.
And it's very important that I did filter it this way to have that extended high end, because I was using it to drive this Aphex Vintage Oral Exciter. So as you can pay attention right here, like these ad libs are super bright. This is like the super sweet candy. When you go to the corner store, when you hit the corner store and you see all these type of different candies, there's the super sweet candy, there's the mild candy, then there's the sour candy. So I want these ad libs to be kind of sour. And the reason why I picked them to be sour, just like that sweetness, that makes your face just do funny faces. The reason why I did that specifically is because of the words that he's saying. I used the words and the lyrics in R&B to tell me what texture in tone. So he says, "I bleed for me." You feel me? Like the fact that he said it that way, when you think about somebody bleeding, that shit hurts. You feel me? If somebody stabbed you with a knife, you would make those faces kind of like if you ate a sour candy. It would be uncomfortable type shit. So I used the Aphex Vintage Oral Exciter to bring out that brightness. And because I've got it all on the same track, this is driving into the reverb, which is making the tail of this reverb bright.
Forbid, I bleed.
So you hear a little bit of shimmer as that reverb decays. You hear a little bit of shimmer on those R&B ad libs. So that's how I feel like R&B is. I think of Bryson Tiller, I think of Summer Walker, I think of SZA, where it's like great lead vocal, then a bunch of pieces of candy all throughout the song that have different taste and flavor that keep the listener engaged in the R&B song, right? And we're using a distortion right here, because the distortion, it helps emphasize the tone. Bad for me, nah, 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 nah. You feel me? I bleed. You feel me? That distortion is it makes you think his world is fucked up. You feel me? When you think of a distorted world, you think of a world where nothing is going right for you. It's just a bad fucking day at the office. And that distortion reinforces that, tonally, emotionally. That's what the distortion is doing for these ad libs. It's just, a distorted world is a bad world. And because he's saying, I bleed, the first thing I thought of is distortion. Let me distort those to make you really make it feel believable. You feel me? Make it feel real. Like, damn, that nigga's really bleeding. That love was really bad for a nigga.
One day, I find my way back to you. Maybe one day.
And another great thing too is more distortion helps bring out that Tory Lanez reverb. This is a style of reverb that Tory Lanez likes to use a lot, where it's really fuzzy and it's really hairy. Okay. So after that, we have these type of lo-fi ad-libs again, another fresh air, another waves auto tune. And like I said, I use the fresh air just to maintain my fidelity before I go into like a cassette, thing. Cause this is a gem, right? When you put on like, lo-fiing plugins, you lose a lot of top end, a lot of clarity. You feel me? So that's why I do the trick where I put the fresh air before it and do all my processing, and it feels like, okay, even though this is a shitty VHS TV, I can still see what's going on rather than a VHS TV where it's all just white noise and I can't see any of the TV show that I'm trying to watch.
If you got, don't let me admit, loving you was bad for me. A leg of, don't let me admit, loving you was bad for me. A leg of my, don't let me admit, loving you was bad for me. A leg.
It feels like a little bit of that gets lost inside of the mix. So that's why I use the fresh air to drive it before I go into the actual sketch cassette. So this is just a plugin that's really dope, gluing a cassette to another cassette, two different type of plugin, but they both modeling cassettes. And I just use the preset lost tape. You can play around with it, but the only thing is that this plugin has dropouts, which is really dope. You can have like, because with tape, it has a certain way of dropping out like a phone. You talking to somebody on the phone, you're like, "Hello, what the fuck happened to the call?" Type shit like that. It's dropping out, and because I know that I have a little bit of dropout on this type of ad lib strategically, that's why you see I did a manual dropout myself with this double vocal.
Loyalty won't let me admit, loving you was bad.
Hello? You still on the phone? Hello? Head ass. That's what that shit make me think of pretty much. So that's why I did that, because I know that this is like lo-fiing it and dropping it out, and you hear
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
it feels like that yeah is getting weaker because of the dropouts in this cassette type of thing, right? And so that's really dope. And then after that, we use the it generates so much noise. You can control the noise, but I did this on purpose because I do want the noise to play. I want the noise to play every time the ad libs happen. I want there to be that grainy VHS texture. So I keep the noise, but I just put a gate on the end. So I get to keep my noise. So when the ad libs do play, it is noisy. And these ad libs are going into the reverb, which is a chamber reverb. We're just driving Capital Chambers stock preset, no pre-delay. And no pre-delay is great because boom, as soon as the ad lib hits, boom, the reverb hits.